Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of strength and conditioning training with Para Rowing Foundation. Jen has decided to join us again. We haven't scared her off yet. So hi, Jen. Thanks for joining. Today, we are going to be doing some banded work. So you'll need a band that has two handles, all right? And you're going to want it anchored at about chest level or a little bit higher, okay? So find yourself a doorway or a doorknob, whatever you want, and throw that band around there. But before we start our work, we will do a little bit of warm-up. So everyone, go ahead and start with your elevation. So lift those shoulders, shrug them up towards your ears, and then on the depression, let that tension release down. Think about a melting ice cream cone. Your shoulders are melting down your back. And then elevate again as you inhale. Inhale and elevate. And then exhale. And let that breath guide the shoulders down the back, feeling the length in the neck. Let's do about 3 more of those, starting to lengthen in the spine as we move through this vertical motion. This is where I feel like we have our elevator. So we're going straight up and down, all right? No escalator movements here. We're not moving forward and backwards yet. And every time you exhale, I want you to link that with a depression. And every time you exhale, start to feel a little bit of that tension building. Just had a caterpillar just drop from the sky here. No tension, still continuing to drop those shoulders every time against the work that you do on the shrug. Last time, really shrug the shoulders. I don't know, and then depress, melt them down, and leave them slightly depressed. Let's do our protraction and retraction. I like hands out in front for this because it gives you a nice visual marker. So go ahead and retract. Reach those fingertips towards me. Don't let go, Jen. And then retract and bring the shoulder blades back behind you. You are letting Jack go. He is falling off of your door. And continue. Same thing. Go ahead and start linking your breath. So we're going to inhale as we push those fingertips away from us. And then exhale, pull the shoulder blades back behind you. And we'll do about 4 more of those. As we're working here, make sure that that neck isn't starting to get involved. A lot of times as we send the hands away, the neck and chin want to go with the shoulder blades. So try to keep that head sitting firmly on the shoulders, just like a pumpkin. And last 2, reach away, feel the shoulder blades separate and pull towards your armpits. And then squeeze back behind you. Last time, inhale out. And exhale, return to your retraction. Drop the hands. Now I want everyone to think slightly depressed, slightly retracted to go through shoulder circles here. Now usually we do exaggerated shoulder circles. We're just going to do a controlled articular rotation. So go ahead and take those hands up and overhead. We're not going to elevate, so keep those shoulders slightly depressed. Palms are going to face towards me, all right? And then keep those palms facing down as you bring them down towards the floor. Flip the palms when you get to the floor, and then think thumbs lead you up as you come back up and overhead, and now palms are facing back towards me. So sweep down, think about pressing through water or molasses, starting to create a little tension. Flip the palms, thumbs now are facing up, hitchhike your way on home here, and then bring yourself back up to that straight up position with your palms facing towards the camera. Let's do 3 more in this direction. Feeling that articulation coming from the shoulder joint. So again, I always try to encourage everyone to picture their shoulder joint, right? Ball and socket. So it is rolling around in there. in a very controlled manner, obviously. And so think about how it's actually rotating. As we come forward, it's actually sitting slightly more towards the front of the socket. And then it switches back as we come back. So we're getting all of the spots in that rotation. Let's change direction. So bring it back. This time, pinkies are gonna lead you back. So pinkies are closest to the ground as we come down. And then we have thumbs will lead us up in the front, and then flip palms so that palms are facing up at the top. So it's pinkies, sweep back behind us, feel that opening across the chest. And then as you come through that midline, flip so your thumbs are facing up. Everyone give me a thumbs up in that center position. And then palms are gonna face towards the camera at the top. And we have two more. Enjoying this nice controlled movement, right? A lot of times we get kind of stuck in how our shoulders are moving in day-to-day life. Specifically, as you guys all know, I'm so fond of talking about that kind of hunched position. So especially on that back sweep, think about opening the chest and come all the way up and drop those hands down. All right, let's get started. So make sure your band is anchored firmly, all right? No snapping bands here. I am going to demonstrate in a kneeling position, all right? And Jen is demonstrating from her chair, so find a comfortable position for you. And we're gonna get started facing towards our band, all right? Now for our first section, we're gonna do two moves, and then we're gonna combine them together, all right? So our first move is going to be a low row, okay? So start with your hands at approximately chest height, shoulder width apart. Think about one exhale to draw that core in, to pull that shoulder blade down into the armpit. And on your next exhale, go ahead and draw the elbows slightly back behind your rib cage. And think about the thumbs coming right to the bottom of where a heart rate monitor would be. And then extend back out into your starting position. So it's exhale, row back, inhale, return. And what we're looking for is maximum torso stability as we do that row. Starting to link in the breath with that core stabilization. Still feeling nice and broad across the collarbones. And only going back to the point that you can keep your shoulder in approximately a vertical position. So the tendency here is if we go back too far is to allow the shoulder to start to rotate forward, all right? We want to avoid that happening. So I want you to think about the head of your humerus, your big arm bone, sitting right underneath your earlobe for the entire time. And part of what that means is that as we come back out, we're not allowing the band to protract our shoulder blades. We want to keep that slight retraction so that we have a fairly neutral shoulder blade throughout this movement. And we're squeezing from under our armpit. Remember, all my rowers, this should be something that just feels like second nature to you. So if you need a little extra resistance, you know, you can take a little bit of space away from the anchor point to give you a little bit more work. Let's do two more. Exhale, draw it in. Inhale, return. On this one, stay drawn in, all right? Now, go ahead and flip your palms so they're facing down towards your floor, okay? This time, we're gonna do a tricep extension. So hold on to your band firmly here, folks. And you're going to keep your elbows exactly where they are and press those hands down all the way straight, slightly back behind your hips. And then you're gonna slowly return. Elbows shouldn't have moved an inch. So it's exhale, press back behind, and then inhale, bring it back in. Again, the goal here isn't necessarily so far behind the hips, but you should be feeling you are getting complete extension at the end of that movement, all right? Your triceps really are the extender of the elbow. So I always picture it as like shooting your hand up in the air, like you really have a question, okay? We might be shooting our hands down, so maybe we want to avoid being noticed by the teacher in this scenario, but really think about getting that full length, not only reaching a little bit back behind the hips, but you're also reaching as far to the floor as you possibly can while keeping the chest open and keeping those shoulders right underneath the ears. And let's make sure we're breathing too. Lots to think about. Let's do one more. Exhale as you draw it down, and then inhale, return. All right, as promised, we're gonna put those two moves together. So start with your palms facing each other, all right? Shoulder width apart. From here, you're gonna start with your row. Once you're in that row position, you're gonna take it to your tricep extension. You can leave your palms facing each other for the tricep. In fact, it'll probably hit the heads in a little bit of a different manner. So it's row back, shoulder blades retract slightly, keep that retraction and extend the elbows, bring it back to your ending position for the row, and then come back in. Let's do about 5 more full sets. It's row, extend, elbows bend back, and then arms come out in front of you. Find where your breath feels most natural, all right? For me, that tricep extension is the hardest part. So I'm gonna inhale, row, exhale, extend, draw back to my starting position, and then reach back out in front of me. All right, we've got 3 more. Again, use that exhale as a reset, all right? Resetting those core muscles, especially those top abdominals and those serratus muscles, right? We talk about the core and we think about the front abs. What we need to think about is wrapping all the way around that strong cylinder of the torso. All right, last 2. It's row. Draw down, really reach. Bend the elbow and bring it back in. Last 1. Exhale, press down. Draw back in and extend all the way out. Nice job. All right, we have 1 more set of exercises facing towards here. All right, same idea. We have 2 exercises. We're gonna do them separately first, and then we're gonna combine them in together. So for this one, palms are gonna face down. Start about shoulder width apart, okay? Shoulder blades are pretty neutral, slightly retracted, slightly depressed. And we're gonna do a high row this time. So go ahead and exhale, draw those elbows out, almost like you're gonna make 90-degree angles with your elbows, all right? So as you're doing this, the high row, I don't want you to think so much about the elbows going behind your body. I want you to think about making almost like a cross position from elbow to elbow. So you're going for length across the chest, and you should really feel the retraction come into play here, especially in that last like ½ inch, okay? So we're here, we're retracting, it gets a little hard, squeeze in between those shoulder blades just a little bit more, and then allow it to come back out. Remember, anytime we're working with bands, the easier part of the exercise is almost always when you're moving back towards your anchor point, right? Because that is when the band is giving you a little bit of an assist. So make sure you are spending just as much time coming back in as you are drawing out. We don't want to let those bands snap us into position. Last 2. And 1 more. Elbows stay high and wide and come all the way out. All right, now we're gonna move into our chest expansion. Palms stay facing down, all right? Shoulder blades stay neutral. From here, we're going to draw the palms all the way down towards our hips and then release slowly back up to about chest level. Try to keep just a little bit of tension on the band the whole time so that as we're drawing back up, we're not totally resetting, okay? Now with this one especially, really monitor the distance you're going, right? I said behind the hips, but that's really just an indicator of kind of where you want to end up. Again, if you feel that shoulder starting to curl forward, right, and create less space in the collarbones, that means you've gone a little too far, or maybe you have a little bit too much tension on your band. So you can either bring it slightly right in front of your hips for slightly less of a challenge, or you can come a little bit closer towards your anchor point, right? And that will also give you just a little bit less resistance so that you can move through this exercise, keeping that nice alignment between the shoulder joint and our shoulder girdle, rib cage, and neck. All right, let's make sure we're linking that breathing. So it's exhale, press down, and then inhale, slow return. Exhale, again, don't just think about reaching back, reach down the whole time too. Remember that ice cream we were melting? Let's make sure we're still dropping some of those delicious sugary drops off of our shoulders. And we're gonna do 2 more. Exhale, press down and back. Inhale, return. Last one. And return. All right, you know what's coming. We're gonna combine those 2 exercises. So we're gonna start with our row. Nice high, wide elbows, long across the chest. Return back out. Keep the arms long as you move into your chest expansion. And then draw back up all the way to chest level and move into your high row again, right? So we're moving from low to high. And in both senses, I want you to think about the length across the chest and from the fist to the top of the shoulder. All right, we've got about 4 more sets here. Making sure that you're hitting your new starting position every time. So we're starting right at chest level as we move into our high row. Starting a little below chest level as we move into our chest expansion. Everyone make sure that you're exhaling during the part that you find most challenging. And every exhale is helping you engage through that core cylinder, keeping the stability through the center as we mobilize at the elbows and shoulders. I think we have 2 more. I stopped counting. We'll see if Jen corrects me. Sure, I said about 4. Why not? Last one. Exhale, elbows wide. Inhale, return. Exhale, reach really, really long on this one. And inhale, return. Nice work. All right, for our next set, we're going to go side to the band, okay? So I'm gonna start with my left side, all right? And we are going to get started with a lateral pull down, okay? So for this part, you can either hold on to one band or both, right? 1 will be a little bit less resistance, 2 will be a little bit more, okay? And from here, walk it out or slide it out to, so you have a little bit of tension on that band. And from here, you're just going to squeeze down to your hip and then return back out. And again, this doesn't have to be a huge movement, all right? But you do want to feel that as you squeeze down, right, we're not just thinking, bring the hand to the hip. what else are we thinking? We're thinking reach down to the ground. And that is how we're gonna keep that shoulder from rising up, right? As we bring that hand in, it feels a little bit cramped almost. And so the tendency is going to be is to shrug away from the work, engage these upper traps so that your lats and your serratus don't have to do that work for you, all right? So really think about initiating with a press down and then think long to the floor, long to the floor, long to the floor, and then draw it back out slowly. We've got 3 more. Exhale as you press down. Inhale, release. Last 2. Keep that wrist nice and strong as you draw down. Thinking punching knuckles the whole time. Last 1. And release. All right, so for this next one, we're gonna have that same idea, all right? But instead of drawing all the way down, we're gonna have that hand out to the side, and now we're gonna draw our elbow in toward our rib cage, and then release it back out to the side. Now try that for a couple. Draw the elbow in, and then release it out to the side. And if it feels comfortable, you can add just a little bit of lateral flexion. So as the elbow draws in, think reach up and over that top rib just a little bit to engage those side obliques. So it's just a pull in with a little bit of flexion and then draw back in. We're thinking compress the ribs on the side we're flexing to, and we're extending the space in the side of the ribs that we're leaning away from. And it's just a little movement, thinking about isolating from the top of that rib cage. Let's do 3 more. Exhale, draw in. Inhale, release. Last 1. And release. Nice work. All right, we're gonna stay side facing for 2 more. All right, this next one is really tough. So move in closer to your anchor point. You will thank me later. Okay, so we're gonna do an overhead press, but we're staying side to the anchor point. So we're going to be getting the resistance. The resistance is gonna wanna pull us out towards our anchor point. And our goal is to make this overhead press as straight up as we can make it, okay? So hold on to your band, and you're gonna make a fist right in front of your shoulder. Your elbow should be pointing out towards the camera, okay? Yes, beautiful. And now from here, you're going to exhale and press that band up and overhead, thinking bicep right next to the ear. And then draw it back down, all right? So it's press up and over, and then draw back down. And you really want to imagine if you had like a little laser beam in the end of your hand, would you be drawing a straight line, or would you be making an angle that inevitably leads towards your anchor point? All right, because we want to go for that straight line, right? I'm sure all of you guys have done an overhead press with a weight. This is the exact same movement, but we're just changing where the load is and where we're having to work a little bit harder. Let's do 2 more. Exhale, press up. Inhale, return. Last 1, use that breath. And return. Nice job. All right, last one is a little bit more of a stretch. So it's a mermaid, okay? So go ahead and you can use your right hand or your free hand to anchor yourself a little bit. And you're gonna take your left hand and just reach up and over, going for a little bit of flexion on the opposite side. And I'm just gonna drop down to one strand for this, just because the goal really isn't a huge amount of strength, right? We're going for a little bit of mobility in that rib cage and a little bit of lateral movement, right? As much as I talk about how we're all spending time hunched over, I will also tell everyone that most of what we do is in the sagittal plane. or backward and forward, right? Even when we're rowing, unless you're sweep rowing, that's a sagittal movement. And so it's nice to just get into the habit of doing some movements in the lateral or frontal plane or the transverse plane, which is more of a rotation. All right, one more. I said it wasn't strengthening, but boy, my shoulder is tired after all those exercises we did. All right, so for our next part, we're going to face away from our anchor point, all right? So get situated. Now for this one, it might be a little more comfortable if the band is slightly higher than your chest. So if you have space to adjust it, feel free to do so. If not, the band might touch you at some point, and that is okay. All right, so from here, we're gonna do a snow angel to start. So hold on to your bands, one in each hand, and we're gonna start by reaching our hands down towards the ground. Palms are facing out and away, okay? Now, we're going to draw our hands up like we're making a snow angel behind us, all the way up and overhead. Keep that top rib down, and then we're going to draw back down towards our hips, all right? Now, the band obviously is trying to pull us back towards the anchor point. The further away you are from the anchor point, the harder it's going to be, all right? So before you even initiate the movement, I want you to think, press into the band just a little bit, all right? So that you are choosing where that arc is being placed, all right? And again, I want you to imagine if you were going to have big knives at the end of your hands, I know, no one wants that. You would bisect your body straight down your cranium, right? Maybe just slightly in front of your ear or right through your ear, okay? So picture where your thumbs are running through your center, your torso. And again, this one, it is work, right? We're working against resistance, but it should also feel a little bit nice. You've got just a little bit of the band assistance to help you get into some of those positions overhead. It might be a little bit squeaky, a little bit crunchy, whatever you decide to define that as. And we've got one more here. Keeping that consistent pressure into the band. Come all the way up and hold it up there. All right? Keep reaching for the sky. Shoulder blades are down as much as you can. And from here, you're going to press out in front of you. All right? Your bands come down like you're going to put them on like suspenders. And then draw the hands back up to your starting position. So it's exhale, press down, right? And then inhale, return back to your overhead. Enjoy, again, that little bit of the overhead with the band. The band's gonna help pull you into that position. So enjoy a little bit of almost a stretch at the top. And let's go for length here. I want you to think about reaching those fingertips long as you return back to that overhead position. And exhale. Think about dropping those ribs a little closer to one another as you draw the band down towards your shoulders. We've got 3 more. Everyone's gaze should be out at the horizon, nice and long through the back of the neck as we work this beautiful range of motion at the shoulder. Last time. All right, draw all the way up. I want you to think about reaching your chest just a little bit more through those bands. Get a tiny more, little bit extra stretch across the chest. And release for just a second. All right, give yourself a little shoulder roll, a little wrist roll, whatever you need. Yep, a little look over side to side if your neck is feeling a little bit of tension. Release for a second and we are going to head into our chest press next, okay? So, same position, holding onto our bands. Now from here, okay, we're going to start with our fists punched out and away, and instead of lifting back up, right, we're gonna bend the elbows to come into what was our high row position, all right? And then press back out. So as far as the path that the elbows are traveling on, you should look almost exactly the same, almost identical to how you looked in your high row. But we're just changing where that resistance is coming from. So now, instead of working this as a pull motion, we're working that push with a little bit more focus. So you have the band intensity as you press, feeling the work across the chest, and then still thinking about the control as we draw back in. Keep those elbows high, neck long, and breathing nice, deep, and consistent. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Keep both hands punched out in front of you, and we're gonna go single side. So let's keep our right hand exactly where it is, completely stationary, and draw just the left elbow back, and then press it back forward. Now the right arm goes back while the left arm stays stationary, and then press it back out. We're gonna do 1 more on each side, and then do a little add-on if you're feeling comfortable. All right, we're going back to the left side bend, and this time you can add a little rotation if you're feeling good there, and then draw it back out. Elbow stays high. I want you to imagine you're pulling back on a bow and arrow, all right? Everyone channel their inner Legolas, yep, or whatever bow and arrow shooting character is your favorite. And while we're trying to keep our elbows elevated, can we check in and make sure those shoulders are still a little bit depressed? Can we still have a little bit of that melt from the tips of the shoulders down towards the bottom of the hips? And we'll do 1 more on each side after we get done with this right one. Inhale, draw back. Exhale, bring out the waist to come back to center. Last one on the right. And drop those bands for a second. We are going to head over to our opposite side, facing away, and we'll do our whole side-facing series on that side, all right? So find your starting position. We're gonna start with our ab and adduction. So a little bit of tension away from that band. And we're gonna start by setting the shoulders down the back. I want you to think about it being as tall as you can through the torso. And then everyone go ahead and press the palm down towards the hips. And then slowly return back out. Again, it's a pretty small movement, all right? If you think about the space you're closing, it's like a nice quarter of a pizza here. And let's check in and make sure that we're not leaning towards that anchor point yet. We're keeping those left obliques fired up to help stabilize us. And of course, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about length through those fingertips so that we're not just reaching the hand to the hip. We're trying to drag our fingernails along the ground below us. We've got 3 more. Exhale as you press down. Last one. And come out to the side. All right, for this next one, we're going into our little 90-degree pull. So same idea, but this time we're drawing the elbow into the side and then releasing back out. There's a little bit of external rotation here. So you're probably going to notice your fist wants to come way forward. Try to keep it as level with the elbow as you possibly can. And now, if you want to add in that little bit of flexion, right, a little bit of a pull towards that anchor point, a little fold over from that rib cage, right? I want you to picture someone put their hand underneath your ribs. You'd be folding up and over that their arm or their hand. And everyone think about squeezing the whole side body. It's working. For me, that's my right side. As you squeeze in. So squeeze from the bottom of the armpit all the way down towards the hip. Last two. And one. And release. All right. Scoot yourself on in towards your anchor point because we are going into our overhead press, which we all know by now is very challenging. So make sure you don't have too much tension. Start by making a fist right out in front of you, all right? Elbow is jutted outwards. And now, go ahead and exhale, press up towards the ceiling. And then draw back down, right? This is where we talked about our imaginary laser pointer, okay? So again, that band is really gonna wanna try to draw you towards your anchor point, towards your doorknob or your sofa or whatever you've latched your band around. Mine's a birdhouse, if anyone was curious. And we're resisting that. We're feeling the work in the side of the shoulder to help keep that nice vertical tracking. Don't be afraid to make a little noise with your breath. As we're working through this tough one, we've got two more. Stay tight through those right side obliques so that we don't lean away. Last one. And bring it down. We're gonna do our mermaid. Again, I like to do this with a little lighter, so I'm gonna go to one band. You can use your free hand to give you a little support off to the side. Hand comes up and overhead, slight bend in that elbow, and then you're gonna reach it over your ear, over your head, and give yourself a little flexion to the side, and then draw back up to center. So it's kind of dive over, right? You can picture kind of why this is called mermaid, right? We're like emerging from the waves, and fish don't have a lot of bones. So we're getting that nice, shimmery, elastic feeling through this movement. Enjoy it. So really use that exhale to expand the top ribs. Sorry, I said exhale. I should have said inhale. Inhale, expand and reach. And then exhale, come back to center. Let's do one more. Inhale, expand and reach. Exhale, come back to center. Nice work, my friends. All right, we made it all the way around the world, so we are done with our hard work. Let's take a well-deserved stretch, all right? Go ahead and reach your hands back behind you. Hold on to your fingertips, and then press the hands down towards the ground and open up that chest as much as you can. And press down and a little bit back, all right? Now with this nice open chest, we're gonna do a little bit of neck mobility. So keep that pressure in the hands, and you're gonna go ahead and drop one ear towards your shoulder, back to center, drop towards the other side, back to center, Look down at your chest, chin to chest. Back to center. Look up. Center. Let's do a full neck roll. So look down, look side, back, opposite side, and then back down to the chest. Reverse direction. Side, roll to the back. Excuse me. Roll to the side and look down. Bring the head back to neutral. Release the hands. Put the hands wherever you want to do some nice big shoulder rolls. Let's start by rolling back. Exaggerate the movement. Releasing any tension. And switch directions. Roll to the front. While you're doing this, you can give yourself a little head shake. That might be nice as well, just to make sure we're releasing any tension coming up to the head. All right, last one. Take both hands, place them behind your head, and you're gonna clasp the hands back there. All I want you to do is think about pressing your elbows back away from your face as far as you can. All right, and pretend if I came up and pressed against your elbows, right, you'd get even more of a stretch. So feel that opening. You can use those thumbs to pull on the base of your skull a little bit for a little cervical lengthening. And release. Let's take 2 nice deep breaths to end our session today. So let's inhale. Exhale, release. One more time. Inhale into the back and sides of the ribs. And exhale, drop any tension in your shoulders and neck. All right, thank you guys again for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Jen.